Donate stuff, create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
My Hometown is made possible by Herald Community Newspapers. For more local news, visit liherald.com. Got a story to tell? Call 516-569-4000.
WHPC.
And now we return to My Hometown.
Welcome back to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Nassau Community College student Zach Turkel, along with Bill Horan. And our guest today is Neil Goldberg, owner of Main Street Board Game Café, and is also a former sports producer at New York One News. Neil, how does a retail store compete with most anything that could be bought on your smartphone, because everyone has apps on their phones and everything with Fortnite being so popular? What makes it so different?
I think it these days it's in the I'll use a technology term, the UX, the user experience of walking in a store and having someone in the store who is knowledgeable about the product help you find the best product for you. Other, online shopping, which we all do now,
yes,
as a myriad of conveniences, but as much as they try to suggest what you might like, it's hard to find exactly what you like without talking to a human being in a store. And I found that. And for people who are listening, for you guys now, you're going to go out and say, ooh, I'd like to try a board game or two. Go to Amazon, type in board games. You're going to get 1,500 board games blasted into your face. Now what? What we in the store who live this and love this and know how to play every game in the store are better able to do than that. And this is our hook, is you'll come into the store and we'll ask you what you're interested in, what you're looking for out of the board game experience, and find the best board game for you.
Now, what games, Neil, would you recommend to someone new to the sport? Not to the sport, to gaming, and if a parent comes in and says, what's a game to get a kid interested in that's safe?
There's a company called Restoration Games, and they take a lot of games from years ago and kind of spruce them up and make them more modern and more functional and fix maybe some of the issues with the gameplay. They make a game called Downforce, which is a car racing game, which the point is not necessarily to have your car win, but to make the most money off the race. They just came out with a game for younger kids called Dinosaur Tea Party, which is a re-implementation of a game called Who's It from the 70s. It's a hidden identity game. Every player is a different character, and you have to guess what each other player is. And the players are all dinosaurs, so they have names on them. For adults and people, little non-kids, I like two games. One called Viral, where it's called an area control game, where you need to form majority of your pieces in different parts of the board. The theme being you're all diseases trying to get a single guy the most sick by getting the most of your diseases on the board. Yeah, some poor fellow. And because I'm a smart guy, I will mention my wife's favorite game, which is called Grand Austria Hotel, where you're running a hotel, turn of the century Austria, and you want to have the best hotel and get the best guests. So the emperor will be the most impressed with your hotel, and you take guest cards, but each guest card has a food order, and you need to acquire the food that makes them want to stay in your hotel, and then you have to have the rooms open to put them in, and every step begets another step that you have to consistently monitor and acquire the resources to perform.
That sounds I don't know whether it's the hoteling or the food.
Yeah,
or what,
the theme.
Kind of gets
the
me. Theme.
You don't even. I explained that, but you haven't seen it. You have no idea how to play it. But just the theme sucks you in.
It gets you right in. Neil, once again, if someone's listening and this is their thing, or they're saying, "What a great idea! Get the kids into it," or a night just to get out with your husband and wife or girlfriend. Where is the main?
We're not open yet, so don't come piling through the door yet. We hope to be open in the late fall. We are going to be at 307 Main Street, right in Huntington Village. And
that's a cool place too.
There's a million great restaurants. I'm there at least twice a week with my wife and my family to eat out. That's where we go almost 90% of the time to eat out. There's almost 100 great restaurants there, and it's walkable. You park your car and you can walk the streets of it, and it's great places, great shopping there. Our website is mainstreetboardgamecafe.com, ST for street. And you can come to our website. We're all right now. It's just a landing page. We're collecting email addresses for our mailing list, so you can get on our mailing list. And then we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram as well, Main Street Board Game Cafe.
And get on that hot list, and Neil will invite you to some of the big events that's happening. Zach?
What are issues that tabletop gaming and board game cafe specifically face right now?
Well, it's hard to, as someone who hasn't opened yet, I'm sure I'll face lots of issues.
Yeah.
One, as always, in any kind of sector is tolerance between people who do this all the time, and this is their favorite thing, and this is their hobby, and people who are new to it, and just the general decorum of playing a game, sportsmanship, and that kind of thing. I think the industry, from the time that I've been following it, is going through such changes. It's accelerating at such pace. You wonder, you hope, and I think it can be, you hope the growth is not unsustainable, because it's growing so great, and that's wonderful. And for people who love it, it's a re-golden age. You hope it can keep up.
Hopefully no fights will break out.
No, I don't
in
think so.
the gaming cafe. That's what we hope.
Zach and Neil, we like to let our audience know that you're listening to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Bill Horan, along with Nassau Community College student Zach Turkel. And today, our special guest is Neil Goldberg, talking about the gaming industry and his new Main Street Board Game Cafe. I always want to say, reverse the words and say game board rather than board game cafe, so I have to stop for a few seconds. Neil, what are the main issues that you faced in opening this business up, and that you look back on now?
You, as always, whenever you do something completely new, the biggest problem is you don't know what you don't know. And you go in every day thinking, well, today I need to do this, where a month later you go look back and say, no, you should have done that first. Learning how to start a corporation, learning how to fund your business, and what the proper way to do it is. I'd never worked for myself before, where I held the responsibility. I worked for a large, gigantic cable corporation. I was a number, not a name, and that's how a lot of people work. And the idea of understanding everything that goes into a business that you don't know. You walk down the street, you see a bunch of storefronts. You don't know what went into doing that. Finding the space. What space can I afford? What is the proper square footage? All the things that go into getting permits and changing use of a property, because the place that we had was just a straight retail store, so it's never had food in it. So that's a whole thing. Getting a liquor license, that's a whole thing. That's an amazing thing.
Did you hit a point and say, what am I doing?
Yeah, a couple times. You kind of step back and you realize, and it's like a lot of, I think in a good way, you kind of burn your boats when you do this, because once you start, you kind of can't stop. I think that's a good thing, that the only direction is forward. It was different. I had a boss. My boss told me what to do. We had the news of the day. We had the talent, everything a producer does to do a show.
This was in your old job.
This is my old job,
Yeah.
but a lot of it translated, because you have to.
Yeah.
Certain things don't translate. How to open and fund a corporation did not translate. But how to understand how you have to make so many things work together at the right time, that did translate. And the background that I had was very helpful.
Zach?
My question, Neil, is where do you see your business going in 3 to 5 years? I know you haven't even opened yet, but maybe if you think about it, what would you like to see in the near future?
I hope we're in business. I think it's scalable. I think hopefully my business and the tabletop gaming business go hand in hand, and the growth continues. I'd love to open, once I got one store down, I'd love to open a second store and a third store. I think this is good for Long Island. I think one thing people sometimes complain is there's not a lot to do, and there's not a lot for young people to do,
right,
who I think are really into this. And there's I keep saying the Unplugged Experience is something that more and more people want. I think putting it in a town, I didn't want to put it in a strip mall. I wanted it in a place that had walking street traffic.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I really like that idea.
What they tell you, put it in a strip mall in view of an ice cream store, coffee store, and a gas station, and that way you will always have 24-hour traffic. but I thought I wanted someplace where people can walk up to it. So I think that makes all the difference because that's, I grew up in Manhattan. And one thing I miss living out here is walking around to where I want to go and walking around to different places and walking around and just seeing what I find. So I think this store fits into that ethos so clearly. So to continue to expand to the walkable towns of Long Island is one of my biggest goals.
Exactly. Bill, I just want to say something before you say your next question, but it does relate a lot to me with what you said earlier because when I was younger and growing up on Long Island, we had a lot of street fairs. Mm-hmm. Every time during the summer, my family would go out to a street fair. You don't have that anymore because now everyone is stuck at home playing video games, and what's the point about it? I like how you're bringing that back, and I really, really like that idea.
Yeah, I used to love block parties. Mm-hmm. I grew up on 80th in York, and every year they'd have a block party. They'd close the street. They get a bounce castle and some merchants and some food and some music, and you don't have those anymore. We people in Long Island love community. Mm-hmm. But what is community in the digital age? Well, if it's not a face-to-face experience, we can all stay connected with friends over Facebook, over Instagram, and, people that we knew years ago, and we can see, pictures of their kids. But to have entertainment that is sitting around a table with no electronics where you're talking face-to-face is so rare now. And I think anytime you can find it, you can provide it, there's going to be a market for it, and it's going to be popular.
Neil, what would be one or two of the things let's say pieces of advice you'd give to someone opening their own business based on what you've experienced?
You have to, from the minute you begin, make it your full-time job. And you get up in the morning and you sit down, even when you're just still in your house in front of your computer, and that's the only stage you're at, you have to spend your day on it, and you have to talk to people in that world of accounting, of finance, of business, of real estate, of towns and architecture, and endlessly talk to them and almost do it in theory before you do it in practice. I tried to do that as best I could. I succeeded in some forms. I feel I failed in other forms, but I think I've gotten pretty far in the 5-6 months.
Sounds like you've done a great job
at it.
And once again, tell us the address and the website.
Sure. 307 Main Street in Huntington Village, in Huntington, right on Main Street. And our website is mainstreetboardgamecafe.com. Street is ST. And Facebook and Instagram, Main Street Board Game Cafe.
And Neil's a nice guy. Go meet him and play a few games with him and
very
take him
nice.
over. We'd like to thank Neil Goldberg, owner of the Main Street Board Game Cafe, for being our guest today. I'm Bill Horan, along with Nassau Community College student Zach Turkel. Thanks for listening to this edition of My Hometown.
We like to get your feedback on My Hometown. Send your comments to whpc@ncc.edu. My Hometown is produced by Jim Green, executive producer. Nassau Community College, where success starts and continues. Till next time, this is Bill St. James. And remember, there's no town like your hometown.